All right, welcome to a brand new episode, Back Pass with Ras, the Euro special. Now we're into part two, and we start off part two with one of the pre-tournament favorites, France. And joining me again on the show, we've got the president of the PSG Fan Club Singapore, Mr. Romain Janson. How are you doing?
Hi, Russ. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I hope you're feeling good after what's happened in the Euros.
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah. So getting straight to point actually. In your own words, how's this Euros been for France?
I'd say fairly disappointing. So some may say France reached the semifinals, which is already a great result. A lot of teams, I guess, would love to reach that stage, but from a France supporter point of view, I'd say it's disappointing with regards to how the team played, what sort of football they displayed, and of course, disappointing that we didn't make it to the final because once you reach the final, no matter how you play, it's just a game and anything can happen. So yeah, a little bit disappointing for France.
And what's the sentiment like in the public, in the French public? Do they feel the same way or worse?
Yes, I think everybody who was watching France and all the French people who watched the games were very frustrated with the way France was playing and this inability to score goals. And in a competition like the Euros, if you don't score goals, it's going to be very difficult at some point. Some even said that we didn't really deserve to reach semifinals given how we were playing.
I think that's quite a fair point because France made it to the semi-finals, but never looked convincing in any of the games. Didn't live up to the billing of being pre-tournament favorites. And you hit it on this nail by saying that scoring goals is a problem because I think you've got a penalty, you got an own goal in there. I only one or two goals through open play.
I think only one goal in open play, but that's not enough, to be honest. Yeah, we reached the semis with no goal being scored in the play. So it was two own goals, one penalty. So yeah, that's clearly not enough, and we were pretty lucky to get past Belgium and Portugal.
Is the frustration towards the players or is it towards the manager?
A little bit of both. So with Deschamps, there's a few things because obviously he's been around for 10 years and he's brought the team to win the World Cup and reach another final a couple of years ago. So
the Euros final and the World Cup final.
The Euros final in 2016, the World Cup final again in 2022. So he's a great manager who is bringing results for the team. But a lot of people in France are complaining even before this tournament and also at the World Cup. Some are complaining about his what kind of play he wants to give to this team, and they say that the team is not playing football; they're just here to defend and counter-attack. But that's only valid if you're able to score goals from these counter-attacks. And well, at the World Cup, it was fine, but in the Euros, Mbappe was not able to make a difference, and actually no other players were really able to do that either. So frustration is, of course, towards the players because they're the ones playing and missing the chances, but also to Deschamps, who is not able to bring a little bit more attack to the spirit to that team. Yeah.
Okay, is his position now under pressure?
Not at all.
No.
He's before the Euros. I think maybe right after the World Cup, he extended his contract all the way to the next World Cup. So he doesn't really seem to be willing to leave. Some say that Zidane is patiently waiting for this position to open, but I don't think he's gonna leave by himself, and I don't think he's under pressure from the federation because at the end of the day, he's achieving results and he's reaching later stages of the tournaments they play.
Okay. Any French player that impressed you in this tournament?
Probably Koundé in the defense. So, I mean, generally speaking, my observations about this team was that they were really solid defensively speaking. That's a satisfaction because you need a great defense to go fast and go far. Sorry. So yes, this team. When you look at this team playing, you have the feeling that they are very solid and they'll be able to hold the other teams, which was the case for most of it, except for Spain. But actually, even Spain, they scored 2 goals within a span of 5 minutes. But then after that, they were not really dangerous. So the defense was good. So I think all the defenders, Koundé, Upamecano, Saliba, Hernandez, they gave entire satisfaction. But Koundé, I think, was very visible during the games. He was, going forward, coming back to defend. He was involved in a lot of attacks from France. So I'd say he did well compared to the Euro 4 years ago, where he played and he was a little bit disappointing. Yeah.
Okay. Any player that disappointed you? There could be a few here now.
Quite a few, and that's gonna be more in the attack of the team. Obviously, Mbappe has not delivered, so of course he was injured in the first game against Austria. He broke his nose. It's not a small injury. He missed the Netherlands game, and he came back playing with the mask. All the professional players said that playing with a mask is not easy, and of course you have an injury on your face. We were able to see that Mbappe was not really, he was a little bit scared to go to the contacts with other players, so he was definitely not 100% after that. That could explain, but also let's be honest, Mbappe's season last season was not good at all. He scored goals, yes, but in League One, if you're a decent footballer, you can score goals. Mbappe is more than decent, so he scored plenty. But in the Champions League, he didn't really make PSG go forward, and then for France, he didn't play well. So disappointing. Griezmann, unfortunately, did a great season with Atletico, but he was not able to deliver. And then maybe we should avoid talking about Marcus Thuram and Randall Colomwani, but it was incredibly low level of football for a competition like that. Dembele, on the other part, is always able to, move forward, bring danger, but again, not able to finish. So, yeah, not so good in the attack.
And also around this time, there was an election going on in France.
Yeah.
So, and I remember before the tournament, Mbappe talked about politics a bit. Would it have an effect on the players in the team?
So yes, there was this election that was not really expected. It was triggered by some decisions from the president, etc. And then, some of the players in the team brought this topic during interviews, press conferences. Well, let's be honest. For this, football players should play football, and especially when it's a tournament like this, they should stay focused and maybe leave the politics to politicians also. So Mbappe, I heard things saying that maybe he was a little bit worried about the situation and the politics. Well, I don't know. I'd say he doesn't seem to worry too much now in Madrid, so he left France. So he should worry about his football, and I don't believe this has an impact on the performance of the players. Generally speaking, they don't really care about politics. So yeah, it's just an excuse.
Looking to the future, you think? I mean, obviously, France has got a good team. They've got a good B team even, and young blood coming through as well. That is of good standard. So you are kind of in a good position for the French national team. But do you feel that maybe things are getting a bit too stagnant and in the French team under Deschamps, and is it like the same old thing? Things are getting stale now for France, and do you worry a bit about the future?
Yes and no. It's difficult to predict the future, but I mean, I would love France to play a better football, and I would love to see them score more goals and all that. But I really trust Deschamps for being very strong, and I think as long as he will be around, the team will deliver, no matter the players. Of course, we need good players, and it's true that some are getting a little bit old, like Griezmann. Giroud is retired. But we have young players. The defense is fairly young. In the midfield, we have N'Golo Kante, who is getting older, but is still good. We have young players, so I think it's maybe just a way. I would like Deschamps to maybe try to play a different game a little bit, and not only focus on the defense, but I think there is no big reasons to be worried. France is a good team right now, and they should deliver maybe in a couple of years at the World Cup. Yeah,
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Roman, for your time.
you're welcome.
Short and sharp. So, thank you. Thank you once again. Can I have your dinner now?
Yes, yes, I can.
Yeah,
No
enjoy
problem.
enjoy your dinner. Thanks a lot, and good luck to France. I see
Thank
you at the
you.
next tournament then.
Thank you, Ras. Allez les Bleus.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
So from one pre-tournament favorite in France, we go to another one. England made it all the way to the final, but unfortunately fell short at the last hurdle. And joining me on the show this time to speak about England and the Three Lions is Mohamed Fadzli. How are you doing, bro?
Hello, Ras. Hello, everyone. I'm
Hi.
doing okay. For been okay.
Been okay, yeah?
Getting better, getting progressively
Getting
better as the days go by.
Yeah, I can see the weather is a bit reflective probably of the mood of English fans at the moment.
Yeah,
The weather behind you
yeah.
is a typical British weather, but it also will reflect how the British fans, English fans, sorry, are feeling at the moment. And let's get straight to the point. Firstly, how was the Euros for the English?
I think maybe the best way to describe it would be a roller coaster. I think, the start was decent. I mean, first, I guess the build up towards the tournament proper was, I think, quite fair to say, maybe a bit unconvincing. Like you can see a little bit of disjointed performances here and there, like still a little bit of uncertainty. Like I think as like for example, even up to the Iceland game, because the squad hadn't been finalized yet, so we were still seeing players getting featured and everything. So, but I guess the squad still hadn't been finalized, so we didn't really know until once the squad got finalized. Then there were a lot more reactions, things like questions like, oh, why is Luke Shaw going when he hasn't played since February? Why are certain players going? It looks like the squad is a little bit imbalanced, that kind of thing. So this type of questions started to come up, and then I guess it added to the uncertainty or doubt, so to speak, because of the unconvincing nature of the performances in the lead up to the tournament. And then I think although the first game against Serbia was okay, I mean it ended with a positive result and a win, but I think the nature of the game in terms of like how hard they had to fight or how deep they had to dig just to grind out the result, and then followed by the
Denmark
following
draw.
games. Yeah, the Denmark draw and the Slovenia draw. I guess the amount of doubt, the sentiment of doubt just grew more and more lah. So it wasn't like, so the vibes, so to speak, weren't really good. Then until of course the game against Slovakia, where suddenly it seemed like, this like maybe we might be on to like I guess it was the first bright spark of the tournament because of Jude Bellingham's goal. But again, I think the overriding sentiment also was like, oh, one moment of brilliance to so-called paper over or mask the the nature of the performance, which wasn't to what people were expecting. And then when we move on to the next game against the Swiss, also the same, fighting hard to for the draw before going up on top on penalties. But I think maybe that one, I guess it ended on a good note because of the confidence shown in the taking of the penalty. So that one, I guess, for older English fans, would have been a very nice surprise to see, because like, oh, this time the old fear factor of penalties didn't seem to be there. Like, they were all very well taken penalties and everything. And I think probably the Netherlands game was the one where people started to like, oh, we might be onto something, because it was quite a good start to the performance. And of course, because of the nature of the winner, in the last few minutes with Ollie Watkins, and then it came from a substitution, which seemed like the substitution bore fruit. So like, yeah, I guess it just got people believing again. And then, but I think even then also, like, yeah, I believe for most people, I think if they were honest with themselves, it was always a bit like a heart and head situation, because your heart wanted to believe that, maybe we are like slowly they labored their way to the final, but like the progress, however small, was still there, lah. And then maybe they were hoping for an England win, but then they had to face against the best team of the tournament. And I mean, they were really like Spain, to be fair, to be honest, they would have been the best team in the tournament by far, winning all their games, setting a record for number of goals scored, the way they play their football. So I think ideally for purists, you would want Spain to win, because you always want the best teams to win. And as you know from tournament football, sometimes the teams that start the best, or the teams that play the best, don't always go very far. Like, I think Germany and Austria are good examples. They started very well, they play good football, but eventually they got knocked out. So I guess like heart versus head, the heart wanted England to win, but the head also tells you that actually, you are going up against this Spanish team, which is not going to be easy. And then I think, true enough, the final, I think it spoke for itself, lah. Spain dominated the game. Again, for a moment, it looked like might be onto something, but in the end, the dying minutes of the game just not meant to be. And then I think, like, because of the conclusion, the result, which meant that England didn't win, and then plus all the doubts from the build up to the tournament, and then also like when you think about how the sentiment has been overall regarding Gareth Southgate's tenure as England coach, I think quite regrettable, or quite unfortunate rather, that for me it feels like he got hounded out of the job, lah, and that he chose to step aside like before he was sacked, I guess. So yeah, a bit sad for the final outcome, but I guess as someone who watches English football and who happen to follow the national team, I guess we have to see what happens after, lah.
Yeah. All right. That's very well put. You've summed it up in as little words as possible, but that was really the journey from the start till the end. But
Yeah,
I think
it was like up and down and up and down again. Yeah, real
and I
roller
think
coaster.
you probably are in the same situation as me, whereby we consume a lot of media from England, and leading up to the tournament, you mentioned about the performances on the pitch, but leading up to the tournament, the media, the pundits were going, were salivating over the team that they could feel. They were saying, oh, this guy's in form, that guy's in form. Supposedly, they have the best player in Germany in Harry Kane, best player in England in Phil Foden, best player in Spain in Jude Bellingham. We have a lot of these pundits, ex-players were very excited about England and how they would do. And obviously, yes, on paper, we looked at the England team. We thought, after some time now, you see England team of quality that could do well. But we always knew. I mean, those of us who don't support England, we always knew that at the back of our minds, if there's anyone who would stop them from doing well, would probably be Southgate and his tactics. But yourself, of course, you're not English. You're Singaporean, but you're a Singaporean England fan. And when you hear that kind of a build-up from the media, what does it do to you? Does it make you more excited, or would you want it to be, quelled down a bit, take it easy, a bit more humility from the media? What's your sentiment?
That's a very good question to ask, because I think, like, for me, when the tone of the conversation or the narrative in the build up started going in this way, for me, it like, I think for a lot of England fans who have been following who have followed the team for a while, especially in the 90s or the noughties as we were. So I think it's a very all too familiar sense. It's very foreboding. I felt very it felt very foreboding, very ominous because like I feel that this is where it all ends. Because I think for me, I feel that they do best when their expectations are low. I think World Cup 2018 was the perfect example. And I think Euro 96 also to an extent because in the build up towards Euro 96, although I think we were very young, I was in primary five, I remember that
Yeah.
they were not very convincing they had a Far East tour in Hong Kong
Yeah.
but
It was
not
more
too
about that.
convincing.
Yeah, the Far East tour and the shenanigans in the pub.
Correct.
More
Yeah.
about
And then
that than the
also,
performances. Yeah.
yeah, and then also Euro 96, I remember watching the opener 1-1 against Switzerland.
Yeah.
Very, very tough game. So like it's like so expectations were not very high. And then they managed to go all the way to the semi-finals. And I think World Cup 2018 was also the same. To World Cup 2018, the narrative was more of like, rebuilding from the horror of getting knocked out by Iceland and the Sam Allardyce scandal. And then they couldn't even get one of their shortlisted candidates. And then if you remember, Southgate didn't even want the job at first. He was the under 21s coach. He took over as a caretaker. They offered it to him full time. He turned it down. And then subsequently, I think when they made another, like they offered him again, then I think he changed his mind after some months lah. So it's like very uninspired appointment, rebuilding from the Iceland horror show. So, and the FA the message coming out from the Football Association was that, this is a long-term plan, this is a long-term process. So I think they wanted to temper expectations. But then I think from there, then we saw that World Cup 2018 had a lot of very nice firsts and very nice surprises for England fans. So made it all the way to the semi-finals. Then I think the build up for that particular team with some changes got even better for Euro 2021. But I think like for Euro 2020, which took place in
Yeah.
2021, and I thought that tournament also went well, except for the final, of course, which we lost to Italy. But I think that was probably the first time where I felt that the narrative started to change a little bit. Like Southgate lost a little bit of goodwill with the general public because the overarching sentiment was that, we took a second or third minute lead through Luke Shaw. We are at home. We are playing against an Italy team which is like not a vintage Italy team. Why sit back? Why, So that's where I think the question started coming. And then if you remember in the build up towards World Cup 2022, the Nations League campaign was very bad because they lost to Denmark, lost to Hungary. So I think there was one game, I think it was Hungary at Molineux in Wolves, where I think they lost 4-0 or something. So I think that was the first time, like I remember reading that like he was very like he and maybe the whole squad they were very roundly booed and everything. So it was like it actually got hostile, like for I think maybe for the first time ever probably. So I think then plus the quarterfinal exit to France where Harry Kane missed the last minute penalty. So, and I think when they got knocked out of World Cup 2022, I think that was the first time where like I think Southgate himself mentioned like, he would need to reconsider his position or something like that following the end of the tournament. Before I think maybe it took like after some time, I cannot remember, was it a matter of weeks or something before he announced that he was going to stay for the Euros. And then, but this time, I think after the final against Spain, when he announced the result, when he mentioned that, I need to have the conversation with the right people, I won't be discussing it publicly. I just had the feeling that, he
The
might,
writing was on the wall.
yeah, writing was on the wall. He was going to step aside. I think, like in a way, it kind of added up because I felt that the atmosphere was a bit like maybe a bit bad, a little bit toxic. Plus, his contract would run out in December. So, and I think I had a feeling that he might end up walking away, which eventually he did.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think the abuse plus the the beer cups thing with the souvenir game, and then plus whatever. And I think I don't know. I just had a feeling that like from what I see and hear and read, like it all seemed like very negative a lot of the tones, and I think him being the way he managed the team is like, if you notice, I think one hallmark of the way he did things is that you can whatever abuse you have, whatever bad things you have to say, I will be the lightning rod for it. keep it away from my players. I think so. I guess maybe in some ways, from the first day he took the squad until the day he left, I think maybe it just took a toll. I mean, 8 years is a long time. So maybe I guess he accumulated, and then eventually maybe he just felt like he couldn't, like he didn't or couldn't take it anymore. Because I think the way he conducted his press conferences, the tone of his messaging also changed over the years. It used to be like sometimes they would try to be a very positive spin on things, or the way he worded it. I think you can also see that he speaks quite well. But I think for this most recent Euros, I think like sometimes the tone or the expression, like you can see that he's very emotionally spent. Like, oh, I have no more emotion left to give already. So it's like, so I guess maybe it just took a toll on him, I guess.
Yeah. But his tenure is a bit of it's remarkable what he's achieved. You got to admit that, because after Sir Ramsey, no other English manager has done as well as he has, going to 2 finals consecutively as well, I must add. They've been to 1 semi-final, a World Cup semi-final, 1. Okay, let's not talk about quarterfinals. They've always been, at least Sven-Goran Eriksson has brought them to quarterfinals. But quite a good record. 2 finals in a row and then 1 semi-final, which is a good record. But a lot of people say that with the squad that he has, he should be achieving a bit more. We'll talk about the players later, but as he's in his tenure, what would you make of his time as an England manager? Would you rank him as one of the greatest ever, or was he just lucky that he had a good squad and then there they are, in these high lofty positions?
Yeah, I think for me, I guess in my lifetime, or I guess in most England fans who are alive, I mean, we've not seen any England team win. We've only maybe read about it in books or in the archives for Sir F. Ramsey's team in '66. So I guess, like, going by that measure of trophies alone, you can never really say that any English manager or any manager of the England team is successful or truly successful in that sense. But I guess we can also define our own success. I mean, for example, let's say in the case of the English national team, nearly 60 years on, only a single World Cup trophy where the men's A senior team are concerned. So it's like, I guess if that is the only yardstick that we can use to measure success, then if we want to talk about measuring success, then we might need to relook at the criteria. And I think from the moments or the different type of, or what we have seen, I guess I would also argue for his case in that Gareth Southgate would be probably the most successful, so to speak, English manager after Sir Alf Ramsey. Also, probably one reason could be because of the length of his tenure. 8 years is a long time. A lot of other England managers didn't get that time. But I guess it was also maybe the nature of the how they perform in tournaments. I think previously, typically England, like maybe quarterfinal team, typically, or maybe first knockout stage, maybe round of 16. But if you remember in the 2010s, always group stage exit. 2010 World Cup, I think, and 2014 World Cup group stage exits. 2012 got knocked out by Italy's Andrea Pirlo. I think that was then after that,
That was
2016
by or quarterfinal, something like that.
Correct. Then 2016 knocked out by Iceland. So the whole of the 2010 period before the 2018 World Cup, it was bad, to put it very bluntly. Then Euro 2008 didn't even qualify. Then 2006 World Cup got knocked out by Portugal and Ronaldo. And then 2004 also the same. And then World Cup 2002 knocked out by Brazil. So it was like a lot of typically just get knocked out in the group either earlier on, whether it's in the round of 16 or group stages. And then it was always the same thing, like, the narrative was always the same. Oh, very good players, we are going to perform, we are going to, like what you mentioned, the hype, they will be banging the drums and saying everything, and then everything, it will just fall flat, like all this, like. So, but for where Southgate is concerned, I guess his teams actually made it through, and I would say when you compare in that sense, it's quite good, because the lowest, or his so-called lowest finish in a tournament was a quarterfinal against France. And then then one semi-final and eventual fourth place at World Cup 2018, and then two finals. And it has always been about the fine margins, I guess. You know, I mean, like Euro 2020, if Rashford's penalty was a little bit under the post, for example, you know, it could have been different.
Yeah.
Or in what was the other game? Oh, okay, one then the most recent one, the Spain, you know, few minutes from extra time, we don't know what could have happened. And then the quarterfinal against France also, if Harry Kane didn't miss his penalty, it could have been a different game. So it's always been about the little things lah, the fine margins, about just about that little last crucial bit to get over the line, be it in a big game or be it in that crucial moment in a game lah. So I guess when we look at it in this context, I would say, I would argue that he would probably be in my lifetime the most successful without being a trophy lah. Yeah, because if you use trophies as a yardstick, it can only be one. Then all the managers say that are all failures. Yeah, you know. So that would be my take on it lah.
Yeah, but I felt it was time for him to go as well, because I felt it was getting a bit stale, and you've mentioned as well, you know, the negativity around him from the press, from the supporters even. I think that all that, you know, has taken its toll on him. So now from the manager going to the players. Okay, the players, you know, you mentioned before, we've got that whole golden generation of the Northeast. Everyone is talking about this great generation that we have, and they always nowadays, you know, all those players that from that generation, they always have this conversation and always this debate about, you know, why we didn't achieve as much as we did, and they always, you know, whatever different reasons they have, the cliques and all and whatnot. Now this generation is again being built up as that golden generation, another great generation of English footballers, perhaps even better than the previous one, because maybe this generation has greater depth in quality. But is it a case of just overhype, or are the players just again not producing their goods at the international level?
Yeah, I think personally, like my own sentiment is that it might be a little bit of both. You know, I mean, like if you look on paper, the team is better. You know, I mean, like now we have, for example, City winning Champions League, or like English teams have been winning Champions Leagues. So it's like if you look across the squad, there are more Champions League winners than in the golden generation of the Northeast, for example. And then also over the
That's only
last,
one, right? City is only won the Champions League one recently.
but I think also because
That's one. Liverpool before
one,
that, that's about it. It's only Liverpool and City, in fact.
okay.
Probably the last decade or so, there's only two, and
maybe
I mean,
Chelsea
besides
lah,
that,
the other time.
it's been Chelsea, and Chelsea, yes, the three of them. And besides that, it's been dominated by Real and the clubs.
Yeah. But I guess, with these three teams, maybe they have more Champions League winners, so to speak. But also, I guess in the last maybe 20 years or so, maybe like the type of young player being produced, or young English player being produced by the Premier League academies, are also of a different profile. They tend to be more technically sound, more continental in their way of playing, so to speak. So I guess in a way, it's like one can argue that they are better now, or maybe more suited for this type of games. But I feel like at the same time, you know, like when their teams do well, it is also because I feel, you know, the clubs are good. Like for example, Kyle Walker and John Stones do well at City, but City also have players like Rodri, for example, like Bernardo Silva, like Holland, for example. So you have players from different parts of the globe together with your club, and then you have coaches from different parts of the world. So it's like, if you have good players, for example, John Stones and Kyle Walker are good players, but are they going to be able to win for England by themselves? You know, so the context is like so the context brings a question mark lah, I would say, in that sense. Then plus, you know how the English media are, you know, like, we are the bit, but you know, like I would also like, I think you can also argue that Premier League, is it really the best in the world? For example, you have a lot of good players playing in England, fair enough, true. But is it also merely a question of being the most publicized or the most marketed league in the world. Because if you look, like for example, I have also been watching La Liga. For example, let's say the past couple of decades. I mean, La Liga also has good teams, even outside of the typical Real, Barca, Atletico group. For example, Sociedad also has good players, and they supply players to this team. And then you also like Girona this year also did very well in La Liga. And then if you look at the Bundesliga, besides Bayern, Dortmund, you also have teams that play well, that play good football in Germany, for example. So it's like, I mean, there are good players outside of England also. There are also good teams outside of England, like Atalanta, if you remember, were also pulling up trees in the Champions League, I think some seasons back. So it's like, could it be merely simply a case of good players, good teams, but they don't get the same amount of publicity that the Premier League has, because it's the most
Yeah.
marketed or the most broadcast league in the world. So it's like, for me, every time, like I feel like, oh, you say this player, oh, it's the best in the world, but who's saying it really? Like you also have to wonder, like, who is the one trumpeting the message, and what is their perspective on the whole situation. Yeah, so it's like, for me, I don't really buy it best in the world, because
You gotta
it
take it with
doesn't.
a pinch of salt then.
Yeah, because it doesn't show. It doesn't. The team doesn't win, or it's not successful in that sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned about well-marketed league, the best. It is certainly the best marketed league in the world, for sure, the Premier
Yeah,
League.
correct.
Yeah. But
It reaches.
he also has the loudest pundits in the world, because they are shouting from the rooftops about the qualities of their players in the league and about the teams
Yeah,
in the league. It's
there is
like
this
it's
element
the
of pride in them.
yeah.
Mm,
Unfortunately, even the pundits are, some of them are ex-players of our team, but yeah,
mm,
it's a bit I feel it gets a bit embarrassing, because I feel
mm,
after some time now they should realize that they should not be, they should measure what they say and not get too excited, because at the end of the day they are pundits. It's different from being a fan. You're a pundit, you got to
mm.
be professional, you got to also take notice of what's going on outside of your league, outside of of the teams that you support. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel in that sense they probably got to be a bit more professional. And I guess that's where a lot of this animosity or ill feeling comes from the nations
From
of
the non,
other
yeah,
nations,
the
their fans.
non-England fans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
non-England fans is always is either you are with them or against them. There's never, not a
yeah.
gray line, you know. In actual fact, I think a lot of people would want to support England because they've not won anything much and they have
Mm,
good players. They would want to support. It's just that what holds them back is all this uh, media coverage and the
mm.
noisiness, as they would say, of the fans, of the pundits, and everyone downplaying other leagues, other players, other national teams. So, that's why everyone just goes against them and goes support the other team that plays against England.
Yeah.
So that's that. Um, any player that impressed you in this English team?
Oh, Mark Gay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, usually, yeah. I thought he
I
did
think if
very
Maguire
well.
had played, he wouldn't have got a chance, right?
Yeah, that's true. If Harry Maguire had gone, he might not have gotten his chance. But I guess, like, I think it's how to say, it brought back nice memories of World Cup 2018 for me, because at that time a lot of the 2018 team were not very heralded or very famous in that sense. Like Harry Maguire was one of those who was not very famous. Then it's like, Ashley Young, sporty form for Man United, also went to the World Cup, but he also did well. So like, I guess this World Cup, yeah, a lot of the players like were like a number of the players were like that. So like, not too like unknown quantities or unproven at international level. For example, we had quite a few. Kobe Meno, who else? Mark Gay, most of the Palace boys, Adam Wharton, and then we had Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney. So it was like, yeah, it was good to see them get their chances, even though however little. Like Anthony Gordon played very little. Cole Palmer did well whenever he played. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, first would be Mark Gay, then maybe Cole Palmer.
Okay. And the ones that disappointed you, there could be a few here.
Yeah, disappointed. Yeah, I would say a bit tough. Like the feeling, I cannot bring myself to say Harry Kane because, like, yeah, one, I mean, half fit. Yeah, that's quite true. And also, you can see him laboring, and also, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he
He
also
didn't look himself.
contributed. Yeah, but he also contributed to crucial moments. Like, for example, got lucky with the penalty, but he did score it, for example. When I thought, maybe unfit Harry Kane. Jude Bellingham, I thought also looked very not as fresh. But then again, I guess for Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham, probably because they had very tough ends to the season. So it's like, if you remember, like Jude Bellingham also took a while to join up with the squad because of the long season with Madrid and all. So it's like, yeah, I guess maybe the two of them didn't look as fresh as they should have been. Then a lot of people making fun of Phil Foden, I guess,
Yeah.
007.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess a few underwhelming players lah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Even Saka and all, not very good. And Jude
Yeah.
Bellingham, I have to add also, he looked a bit irritable throughout
Yeah.
the tournament. He seemed to
Mm.
be as either against the fans, or it also seemed like he was against his own teammates, because
Mm.
lately the reports been coming out that he can't get along with teammates, and don't know whether that's
Y-
true or something
Yeah.
that's
Or you
you know
wonder they just keep making this type of stories
yeah.
after a bad end to the tournament.
Yeah, because there's always known that England likes to build up their players very high, and they also
Yeah. Tear
quickly
them
bring
down.
them down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a danger that he faces now, because now it seems like also the pressure will be on him. There could be a situation where he goes on, performs well for Real Madrid, and then when he comes to play for England, the pressure will be like tenfold. And
Yeah, he might take it upon himself to
yeah,
drag the team
yeah,
to the best outcome.
yeah. So what's the future like for England now? You got to get a new manager. Who you think they would hire?
I don't know. Nations League starts in, I guess, depends on what the FA want to do. I would
Mm.
think, because ideally, I think if you want to prepare for, I mean, the World Cup is 2 years away, but competitive matches, qualifiers, Nations League start in probably September, I think. And
Yeah.
then, I read reports today. Oh, FA are we willing to wait it out for Guardiola, whose contract ends next season. Graham Potter is immediately available. Like, I I wonder if they would appoint an interim manager, but as you know, like, I don't know how it will work in international football, but sometimes the flip side of an interim manager is that, the players know that, oh, you are only going to be here for a certain amount of time. So they might not fully buy into to what you want to do and everything. But that's club football. I mean,
Yeah.
international football might be a bit different. Because I
Mm.
mean, for Gareth Southgate, it was the same. He also started as an interim manager. So if you ask me what they want to do, I'm also wondering. Like, it might be, I guess, for East, maybe Graham Potter because he's immediately available, or maybe even Lee Carsley, because Lee Carsley, if he is offered the job, it will be exactly in the same pathway as how Gareth Southgate has developed in that sense. Because he's currently with the under 21s. He won the title last season with the under 21s, and he's also like familiar with young players, and like, for example, like young players, let's say under 21, they might have the next 7 or 8 years ahead of them. So he might be familiar as to who I can blood into the senior A team, who can start to feature here and there, that kind of thing. So I wonder if it will be an internal appointment, so to speak. But then
Mm.
again, yeah, you see some of the names being bandied around can also be quite tempting, like Jurgen Klopp, for example, however unlikely it might be,
Yeah.
Pochettino. Yeah, so that kind of. So I guess it depends on what direction the FA want to take, whether they want to go foreign or stick local, and then whether they want to pick someone from within their system whom they have developed, or pick another manager. Eddie Howe is another one, for example. But Eddie Howe, I think if I read correctly and listened correctly, it's like for him to join England, he would have to take a massive pay cut. So, and he's also like, he seems quite happy at Newcastle, and I mean, he's like taking it upon himself to bring this club up. So he might want to see through that project with Newcastle unless he's not wanted. But I guess,
Yeah.
these are some of the nothing new from me. I think you might have read all this also.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see lah. But I think maybe they might want to get the fans back on side. So it might be a populist appointment, or at least one a name, so to speak, to get the fan to improve the sentiments of the fans, I guess.
To boost the esteem a bit of the fans.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I
Yeah,
think
it might be.
you mentioned about interim manager. The difference probably is like in 2018, England were coming off a low. of the
Mm.
being knocked out by Iceland, and the team seems a bit disjointed, out of
Yeah.
place. Everything's falling apart. Here, you got a team that is really good.
Mm.
They know they got to another final. They are very disappointed to have lost two finals. They would feel they could have done better in either one of the finals or both.
Yeah.
And they're doing well in their respective clubs. So you could be dealing with big egos, and maybe
Yeah.
someone interim might not exactly work in that sense, or maybe even like you mentioned, Lee Carsley is probably a similar formula to what Spain is used, getting
Mm.
Luis de la Fonte in. But and
Yeah.
in his case, he's working with players he's worked with in the youth
Yeah.
level.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here now,
Not
if
too
Lee
many egos
Carsley
there
comes
also.
in, I don't know how
Mm.
many of them he has worked with in the youth level. They are now in the first team, and how many
Mm.
he can bring into the team, and he's got to balance that, whether he's got the experience or not. That's a really intriguing one. I don't
Yeah.
feel
Correct.
Klopp and Pochettino, I really don't feel it, because both
Yeah.
are from nations that are rivals of England.
Yeah. So can you
It's
imagine a German manager of the
it's
English team then going
very
up against Germany? Yeah.
it's
Or
a I know modern
Argentinian
football
manager.
is something else altogether, but
Mm.
even then it's still a bit of a stretch of imagination to think that Klopp or Pochettino will be,
Yeah.
like
It might
Pochettino,
be a bit sensitive, so to speak.
I think Pochettino will not be allowed back into Argentina if he
Argentina.
became an
Yeah. Yeah.
England manager.
Mm.
So yeah, that's about it. I think that is at the moment, I think that will probably be the one that's intriguing to see who the next manager is and how England would
Yeah.
plan ahead and forge ahead. And also then the next round of matches are up quite soon, in
Mm.
about 2 months, I would say, in September.
Yeah. September with Ireland, I think.
Yeah,
Nations League
so
match.
they got to make a decision soon as well. So this will be really interesting. So another tournament that England has failed to deliver. I think I think in general you would say in terms of performances as well, they've started, they somehow got to the final, and that's
Mm.
probably also a result of being in the easier bracket, and also that
Yeah.
a lot of the big teams didn't perform in this tournament. So it wasn't just
Mm.
England.
Yeah.
It's just that England managed to produce the goods at the right moment. They had a bit of luck along the way, and that that got them all the way to the final. And then in the final, we saw what happened. But even then, I
Yeah.
would say just one thing on the final. I felt that in the first half, especially, I felt England contained Spain quite well. I don't remember Spain creating many clear-cut chances. It just
Mm.
started opening up in the second half, and from the start of the second half, it's opened up and they got a chance and they took it. And then
Mm.
it just went downhill after that, I would say, yeah. And there was also that period where when they got the equalizer and they looked like they had the momentum and they could trouble Spain, but they didn't
Mm.
push on. I think that's
Mm.
probably one constant gripe English fans have against Southgate,
Yeah.
which is what
This
they
sense
had.
of caution. Mm.
Yeah, what they had against in
It.
the same situation 3 years ago at
Mm.
Wembley, where they
Yeah.
had taken the lead against Italy. They were flying at that point, but they didn't press on their advantage, and they let Italy grow into the game.
Mm.
So yeah, that's it. That's that, man. All right, Fadzli,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for your time. Any last words?
Last words, not really lah. Just look forward to the next game whenever that may be.
And also, I would think you would also hope that for a change, the pundits would keep their mouth shut.
Yeah. Or
Just
maybe at least temper.
just play it
Yeah, I
down.
guess
Yeah,
temper the tone.
temper or
I
play it
guess.
down, or at least show more respect to the other nations
I
that are
guess so.
contesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least you get some goodwill in your favor as well, and could help your team finally.
I guess so.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys don't seem to have learned anything.
Yeah. It's just I don't know lah. Again, maybe they too excited. Plus, maybe
Yeah.
just a sense of self. I guess.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Fazli, for your time.
Okay, welcome, Ras.
It is me,
Thank you
Ras,
for having
signing.
me.
Yeah, my pleasure. We've got one
Okay.
more team to feature, Italy, coming up next.
Italy.
And we end the Euro review with a team that's, of course, dear to me. And we have to end it with the former defending champions of the European Championships. It's none other than Italy. And joining me on the show once again, I've got Mr. Sham, who is the Roma president, the fan club of the Roma. Sorry, get me. President of the Roma fan club in Singapore. Yes, now got myself coordinated now. So yes, thanks for making a time to speak to us, Sham. How are you doing?
Sure. Good. It's been a busy month. I'm glad the Euro is over, so I get to spend some time resting and sleeping.
Yeah, true.
Getting ready for the new season, man.
Yeah. I can completely sympathize with you on that. I'm at the same boat as well. Okay, of course, not a very positive Euros for Italy, Sham, but just want to get your idea. Was this what you expected from Italy in this Euros?
I expected that they will get through Switzerland, and probably England will defeat them lah. I mean, like I told you previously, England, they had a very good squad. Okay, but I didn't expect them to lose to Switzerland. I mean, the most disappointing part was, okay, the first three matches, we have several players who were not performing on par. Okay, but the team was, they were winning. Okay, against Spain, it was an unlucky on goal. Okay, but against Switzerland, I was not sure why Spalletti had to reshuffle almost the full squad. The core of the midfield was all gone. They had to put in some new faces there, and I believe they couldn't gel well. And I mean, I watched the match. It was quite horrible. And by halftime, I knew Switzerland will win this. The way that Italy was playing was a bit horrendous.
Yeah, all right. So to just share my opinions, I think I've not shared too much about it when we last spoke, when we were doing the preview episode. I entered this, I felt confused going into this Euros about what to expect from Italy, and he ended up in the same way, because going into the tournament, on one hand, I was optimistic because people were not, everyone did not rate Italy too highly. Nobody spoke much about Italy going to the tournament, and we always know as Italian fans that this is when Italy always rise up. They always make everyone eat their words if you do not write, if you not giving them much hope. So I was confident in that aspect. But on the other hand, since Spalletti took over, I don't feel we have had a very settled team. So we do not know what his settled first 11 is, what his settled formation is, what he would like to play. It's always been a lot of chop and change from the time he took over in the qualifiers and the friendlies. Sometimes there were mitigating factors like injuries, it got to do with it. And then there was that betting scandal that, disrupted his plans a bit. So we had all that to contend with. So I gave him the benefit of doubt. I thought, okay, maybe going into the tournament, he will have a bit longer to spend with the players. He would finally be able to set a standard formation that he wants the team to play, a standard way he wants the team to play. And I think I mentioned this in the previous post as well. I think it makes perfect sense that he relies on the Inter block and play the way that Inter plays to get the best out of the Inter players that he has in the squad, and get the best out of the country, because this is a block that's been successful, had a good season, and I think they were probably the most represented club in the Italian national team. So perhaps I would think you would want to rely on that a bit more, to cut his work out a bit.
I think the Inter players, they were not that bad. Okay, but Spalletti, I mean, we watch Inter matches. We know how they can perform very well. But I think Spalletti should also venture into looking into other players, like, you see, example, Belanova. Instead of playing Di Lorenzo, I know he knows Di Lorenzo very well, but we all know he's not performing. He's not even performing for Napoli this past season. So why insist on putting him in? I
Yeah,
mean, we had some players who can perform well throughout the season. Let them play. Like I told you, Belanova.
yeah,
He got speed. He got some technique. Then play him. So I mean, I read some newspaper in Italy. They were not happy with Di Lorenzo lah. I mean, you can't
yeah,
blame him, but it's the coach who put him in.
yeah,
Yeah. So as for Spalletti, I would say the match against Switzerland, it was entirely his fault lah. Because he rotated a lot of players. But I would say that maybe the future of Italy looks a bit brighter. We just give him some time. Don't sack him. Don't bring in a new coach. Give him some time. When he was a coach in Roma, Roma gave him some time, and after that he performed well. Also in Napoli, also he didn't win the Scudetto on the first season,
mm,
so we have to give him some time. I'm sure he have a good scouting team who can find more local players. Yeah. So this upcoming season will be a good one. So and we have Calafiori who's going to move to Arsenal very soon.
yeah.
So you will give him a lot of exposure lah, for sure. It will up his standard. That's one thing lah.
Yeah, Calafiori was one of the standout players in the team.
Mm.
There weren't many actually. I mean, the first game we had a good game. The one against Albania was probably the best we played in the entire tournament. But I mean, people would still then argue that it's only Albania, you should be able to beat them. We got off to a horrendous start. We came back strong. We came back strongly in that match, took the lead, and we played well. Actually, overall, we played well. Could have scored more than two, but we didn't score more than two, and that was it. And then the Spain game, I thought we were a bit lucky to have lost only
Yeah.
one because Donnarumma had a great
Mm.
game. And he was our standout player, our best Italian player. And he kept us out. He kept the Spanish out a lot, and unfortunately, Calafiori had to score their own goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Croatia game, I felt we were a bit more stable because we went to play with a 3-5-2. We looked a bit
Yeah.
more stable. We were creating a bit more chances, and before Croatia took the lead, we were actually, I felt, the better team because we had more shots on goal, better chances, and that goal changed the game. And we needed a last-minute equalizer to get
But
into the
what I
round
noticed
of
is that
16.
Spalletti he keep on changing
Yeah,
the forward, the striker lah. You had Skamaka one game, Retigui one game, and then you got Chiesa another game. So that doesn't give the striker the opportunity, or the midfield to learn, to study, okay, to understand how the striker wants the ball to be passed around. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. And I mean, that sums it up because that sums up the confusion that, he himself doesn't seem to know what the best formation or who the best players are to play in this formation that he wants them to play. And it doesn't look like he knows what's he doing. So that's an issue that has resulted to what we have seen on the pitch. Of course, the players' energy also seem a bit low.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you, but going into the tournament, it didn't feel like the team was as united as previous tournaments. Even though the players
Yeah, I can
might
see
say
that.
that the players are united. The players themselves might say, yeah, we are united and all, but all that is a front sometimes. They just gotta say it to the media, but it didn't seem like it. And the players' energy also seemed a bit low. They didn't seem to be fired up for it. There was confusion on the pitch also, as you mentioned. I think so. A lot of things didn't work in Italy's favor, and we had a very forgettable tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in recent past, I think I mentioned this. We normally have done better in the European Championships than in the World Cups. But this time, I think really, this is probably one of the rare occasions where people didn't give Italy much hope, and they really lived up to that. So disappointment for us as Italian fans, but not
yeah.
for
But
the rest, I
like
guess.
I told you earlier, the pool of Italian players, I would say, is getting better lah. Because I
Yeah,
mean, I don't only watch Roma matches. I watch other matches also to see who are the bright stars coming up. Okay, and I would say that Spalletti's choice of players is much better than his previous the previous coaches like Mancini and so on. So he need to keep on calling them in for those friendly matches or any qualifying matches.
Nations League
Okay,
is what's coming up.
yeah.
Yeah,
Then find the best formation. Okay, I think players like Jorginho, I mean, it's over lah.
yeah,
Jorginho, Di Lorenzo, it's time to step down, give other players a chance lah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
true.
they have the experience, but you have younger players who are more they are able to take over that role lah.
Mm. You spoke about Bellanova, so I was also crying out for him to come on. And,
Yeah,
you
man.
you give him some minutes, maybe you could see something different, maybe against Spain or so. He brought on Cambiaso. He had more faith in Cambiaso, and he looked like a very average player.
Yeah,
You know,
just
and
because he's playing for Juventus.
yeah, it makes no sense. I mean,
But I would
Juventus
say
not doing well.
Bellanova. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Whenever Bellanova plays against Roma, I mean he is the most. I really fear him lah. I mean he was playing for Torino last season.
Mm.
I mean he played very well.
Yeah.
Roma also had struggled to play against him lah. So I would say this guy deserve a spot lah. Maybe in the first 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Keep on
least
calling him and so on lah.
At least not even if you don't want to play him first 11, maybe you could play him as a a substitute, a super sub kind of player where
Mm.
you bring him on when the opposition is a bit tired. And
Yeah, he got the speed. He got the
yeah,
speed, got the strength.
yeah, to expose the opposition. So that could have been a strategy, but again, no, didn't work out. I think Di Lorenzo has got a lot of criticism in this tournament. It could also be
Mm.
because of the transfer saga
Yeah.
he had at that time. It's been resolved since.
And in the
So
end,
that
he's
could
still
have been
staying in
playing on
Napoli.
his mind. Yeah, in the end, he stayed in Napoli. But it'd be interesting because Napoli now under Antonio Conte's management, he tends to revitalize players. Let's see what
Yeah.
he does.
Mm.
Let's go with that. I think what most people do not know is actually Italy has been doing quite well in the youth level,
Correct. Yeah.
winning the under 19 Euros. The present under 19 Euros, Italy have got to the semi-finals as well. They've qualified for the World Cup. They were World Cup under 20 World Cup finalists, I believe. So in the youth level, it looks like there is talent coming through. It's
But
as usual
the clubs need to trust them.
the age-old question about Italian clubs having to trust young players. They always love the players to be old and ripe rather than young and raw. So this is a big problem with Italian football.
It's all nowadays. It's all about the money, man. I mean, success brings money. Maybe they do not have the time, the patience to wait for players to develop. Yeah.
And these players normally then will develop in a smaller kind of club who might the difference is, you see, if you look at Spain, the players that are young and developing, they play for a big club. And that big clubs are used to playing on big occasions in big tournaments, Champions League, fighting for titles and all that. So they are used to playing on a big occasion. Whereas the Italian youngsters, maybe they might be playing for a club that is mid-table-ish, not really fighting for the title, might overachieve a bit, might get into a Champions League position or Europa League position, but that's it. You're not really fighting for a title. You're not playing in a major tournament unless you're an Atalanta player. That's different. That's something else. But for the other Italian youngsters, I don't think they get that kind of exposure. And when it comes to this kind of big stages, then the difference in experience plays a part.
Yeah. I mean, I read somewhere that the main root cause is money lah. So, example in England, the coach are willing to play all these young players because they already got the backup from. I mean, they have their own stadium. Okay, they get all the money from all the full houses every week.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Italy, it's a bit different. Yeah, not all the clubs have their own stadium. I think only Juventus and another team. I think
Udinese,
Sassuolo. I think. Yeah. Roma don't
Udinese.
even have their own stadium.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's all about the money, man. They need quick success, and then because of that, they had to neglect the young players. So you have to be an awesome kid. Then the coach will call you in.
And so that's also comes to my next point that I think for the Italian youngsters, I guess I hope if they have the talent, I would wish that they move away from Italy, play in a different league where they get a
Yeah.
chance to play more often.
Mm.
Just be brave to do that, take that step, because I think that'll be important for the national team. Because if they were to rely on Italian clubs, they most likely will be used as a pawn for transfer.
For
So
sure.
you know how transfers work in Serie A, where players are the
Just like
young players
Calafiori.
are,
Calafiori is
correct. Was
now
at
being
Roma.
sold off because of money, man. That's
Yeah.
all. I mean, it's like it's a bit sad that Bologna they played so well last season. They deserve a Champions League spot, and now they're
Yeah.
gonna sell off all their top players,
Yeah.
and they're gonna struggle probably next season in
Yeah.
Champions League. Yeah,
Yeah. And also in Serie A, but yeah, and also Calafiori came through the Roma youth ranks.
yeah.
So,
This is another player that he played very well, but I'm not sure why Mourinho didn't want him.
mm,
Yeah, Mourinho played him in the wrong position, and then he's a centre back, but he put him on the wing, and then he didn't want him anymore. So
yeah, there have been a few like that, few instances like that. So yeah, I really hope the Italian youngsters get a chance. Be brave and go out play in a different league. I think in terms of intensity, so the modern game is a lot about intensity and
yeah,
athleticism. So in the Italian game, we lack that a bit. So some teams play with a lot of intensity, but not all the teams play with that level of
yeah,
intensity. So that is also important for the national team. I think, yeah, I feel yes, we have a good talent coming through, but I guess they're all very young, and those youngsters got to find space in the big teams and in big
correct.
leagues even, and then we can see where we are with in terms of the national team. But for now, I feel Spalletti. I'm not too sure. I get a feeling also that maybe he has lost the dressing room. It could also be that that he has lost the dressing room. We'll know in the next few games when they return for international duty and they play in the Nations League.
I mean, he's a bit. I think regimental. Maybe he's one of
Mm.
those old school coach. Maybe some players are a bit snowflake. They can't take it. Nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's why maybe I will not know lah. Yeah.
yeah. So we hope that if there's any issues when they return for international duty, I hope they can resolve it. And
Yeah.
yeah, for the betterment of Italy, we can then move forward and we see a better version of Italy. What
Mm.
is certain is we cannot afford to miss out on another World Cup. That's
Yeah,
going to be
man.
missing out on one World Cup was bad enough. Missing out on two is horrendous. The third one is a disaster.
Third one will label Italy as one of those teams that
Yeah,
will never
forgotten team,
go. Yeah, forgotten team. Yeah.
sleeping giants, perhaps. They would call that fallen giants, sleeping giants, that kind of a team. We are right now like grasping on past glories.
Yeah.
On the four World Cups we won, on the two European Championships. The second one is quite recent, but still most of what we have won has been in the past. So the the present I feel needs to be, something needs to be done. There's also been this cycle. I think I mentioned as well. The talent has stopped since 2006, and then you get sporadic talents. Some
Mm.
talented players come through, and then you have a lot of late bloomers that will come
Yeah.
through into the national team. Players who weren't playing so well earlier in their lives, and then suddenly they have a rejuvenation. Suddenly have a good season or two, and then there they are in the national team. They do well. then you have your experienced players. That tends to be the makeup of the Italian squad. And it's always been the same case where if Italy do well in something in a European Championships or so, there it feels like the FIGC just sweeps it under the carpet and feel that everything is okay and then let it be. But when there's then another disastrous result like getting knocked out in the first round at the World Cup or not even qualifying for the World Cup, then they feel okay, we need to do something about it. But then nothing gets done. And there is a difference as well. I feel like in Germany, where when we saw the German era of the 90s end, they worked on it. They were serious and they worked on it, and then slowly, and then they built the squad and got into, finally winning the
And after they won the World Cup
World Cup.
in
Yeah,
Brazil, and then
yeah,
after I think they
and then,
had
yeah,
trouble
they
trying
fell
to look
into,
for young talents.
yeah.
Uh,
And that is that togetherness. I feel like sometimes, you've been watching Serie A for a long time, and so behind the scenes, there's a lot of disharmony between the presidents of different clubs.
yeah, a lot of
In
politics, man.
Yeah, a lot of politics, a lot of disharmony, and people are not getting along with each other. So it just feels like everyone's just interested in their own club. Nobody's really interested in the World Cup until the national team until the World Cup comes or the European Championships come. And by then it's a bit too late because you are just hoping that Italy does better than expected and punches above their weight, which sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Then there's no consistency, right? So that is also
Yeah.
another thing that hopefully they can work it out and
Mm.
solve and settle that matter.
Anyway, I'm looking at the list of players that Spalletti called up. I would say I'm very sure they will go to the World Cup, the next World Cup. They will qualify. It's all about Spalletti now. Spalletti have to make the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
And
4 years'
also,
time, these players will develop very well. Hopefully,
yeah,
you
and
see.
if it's not Spalletti, then who? You don't.
Yeah.
The worst thing we can do is to get someone like Allegri who's a dinosaur, and that's setting Italy back further back. That's
Yeah.
this style of football is non-existent in today's football, in modern football.
Mm.
Even in Italy, that kind of football don't work.
Yeah. No longer.
Yeah. So
I think Catenaccio is probably dead lah. I mean,
it's
nowadays it's all
consulting
about
books.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because if
now
you're
it's
gonna
about,
compete, in the Champions League or Europa League, you need to understand how other leagues clubs perform also. So you cannot
correct.
stick to your own mentality. It's a bit different nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly true.
Mm.
So that with Italy. I mean, overall, a very disappointing tournament. Anyone that impressed you from the national team? I think you mentioned Calafiori, you mentioned Donnarumma.
Mm. I think it has to be Calafiori, and the main one have to be Donnarumma lah. He saved Italy a lot. Okay, if you ask me about the players that were very disappointed with
Yeah.
was Barella, Pellegrini.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean these two players, the whole of Italy, they somehow know that they're gonna perform well, but they not perform. Yeah.
Yes. Even Chiesa also, but with Chiesa, I guess we knew his form wasn't great going into this Euros. We were just hoping that he would have a Euros where he would have suddenly turned up, suddenly regain his old form. But it's not the case. It's just we see the Chiesa of Juventus. So that is that. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Barella, Pellegrini, Scamacca in some sense didn't do much as well. Chiesa didn't do much. So a lot of disappointments. I think in terms of players that impressed, of course, Donnarumma and Calafiori are the top
Calafiori,
two.
yeah.
There are not many, but I think I'll put Bastoni's name inside as well. He did
Yeah.
well. He did well in the tournament. That's probably the only Inter player that played well for Italy. tournament. So yeah, overall very disappointing. You've watched the Euros as well. Just a quick word on it. Do you find these Euros to be a bit boring?
Not in the knockout stage. The group stage was a bit boring. Okay, there were some surprises. Of course, the main highlight was all the own goals. But the knockout stage onwards was quite exciting. Yeah, and as for the final, I got a feeling Spain will win, and eventually they won. England, they were a bit lucky to go to the final. They had the players, but the coach had a different type of mentality. It's like you get the ball, there's no option forward, you pass back, then it's gonna be a big trouble. You cannot find the goals from there.
Yeah.
This is like Allegri's style also.
I was just
You
gonna
can't,
say that.
you can't push forward, you pass back. To him, it's more like possession football, but possession football can end up 0-0.
Yeah.
Knockout stage, you need to find the goals, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other team that impressed you? Of course, I mean, Spain impressed everyone, but besides that, I felt Germany was very impressive.
Yeah, Germany. Yeah, I think I don't know, man. Besides Spain, France was a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Maybe because of Mbappe's injury. But their defense were a bit lost also. The defense.
Yeah, a lot of the big teams didn't perform well, I felt. So you spoke about England making it through somehow to the final. Then Germany and Spain were the best two teams in the tournament. Unfortunately, they played each other in the quarterfinals.
Anyway,
Italy didn't do well.
Spain totally deserve it, lah. I mean, the teams that they had to play, they had to play Croatia, Italy, Germany, France, England, and they deserve it, lah. Yeah,
for sure. And that's another danger now, because we talk about Italy being fallen giants and sleeping giants. If Italy go on this path, Spain could easily overtake Italy in terms of international trophies won. France could also do the same if they suddenly wake up and maybe they get a different manager. I think the case with France is also quite similar with England. I think if maybe if Zidane in charge, maybe you would see a different version of France and they could dominate. Yeah, so that's a danger for Italy. We could be left in the shadows of all these teams that were years ago were never strong or were always promising, were always considered promising teams, but never fulfilling their potential at the highest stage. So that is a danger for Italy. So yeah, Italy has to be careful.
Yeah, like I say, Spalletti need to do something lah. Find a way. Yeah, he have all the players. Now it's up to him. It's just like Southgate lah. He have all the players. It's all up to him now. Yeah.
All right, Sham, thanks for taking the time to speak to us.
No worries.
Yeah, we can only hope as Italy fans that we see a different version of Italy, and that would, I wouldn't say impress the world. No need to impress the world in the qualifiers. We can always go under the radar once the tournament starts.
First of all, just get through.
Yeah, just get
qualify for the World Cup.
It used to be a given that we will qualify, but nowadays just get through the qualifiers, get through, go to the tournament, and then we'll see how it goes there. Yeah. Exactly. That's how it is now. All right, Sham, thanks a lot for taking time out. This is Ras signing out. The end of the Euros. We've covered the Euros. We've done the preview. Now we've done the review. It's over. Club football coming up next. And of course, if you like our content, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Spotify and all other platforms as well. Do support us. And also, I think besides just our episodes, look us up on Facebook and Instagram. Every day we got something that we post on old school football on the 90s and noughties. So sometimes there are quizzes as well to take part in. So it'll be interesting. So yeah, do like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. This is me, Ras, signing out.